welcome to any edition of our show, Money Means Business. As we always say, business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. And of course, a lot more, that is of the ingredients of success and, I think money and business working out, actually. We have with us today our guest, without, a lot of ado on what we're going to be talking about. We are going to be talking about energy, whether it is sustainable energy or solar energy. We'll see, what we come up with in this episode with our guest. So we have with us Mrs. Hanan Sabri, Director of NITCO and member of BW21. Hello with us here.
Hello.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
And we have with us Engineer Yasser El-Shazli, renewable energy expert. Welcome, sir, with us here.
Thank you.
We're going for a short break, after which we'll be back again, starting our talk. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away.
Egypt has uniquely undergone two revolutions in less than 3 years for better living and the rule of democracy. Egypt remains, after all, as an attractive investment destination despite the difficulties it faced. Ahead of the 2011 revolution, the Egyptian economy was performing well, as confirmed by all KPIs.
We feel very confident about the Egyptian market. The main factors or the main pillars of the Egyptian economy are still here, and they're not going anywhere.
Egypt is a good place to invest, first of all, because it's a big market. It's a big local market. It's a good geographical location. You have good people, and the costs are competitive. So it's a great place. It was, it is, and it will be a great place to invest.
Welcome back again to Money Means Business. We have with us our guest, Engineer Yasser El-Shazli. Welcome again, sir, with us. And Mrs. Hanan Sabri, again, welcome here. And should we start always as usual, like ladies first? So
sure.
I'll start with the lady. So, talking about renewable energy, again, some people might not know exactly what renewable energy is. They just get mixed up. What sort of energy? Renewable energy. What's the renewable energy?
Well, renewable energy is an alternative source of power generation that depends on either using the sun as a source of energy to transform into electricity, or the wind, which is another major renewable because it's natural. It's always there. Every day you get the wind, you get the sun. It doesn't, you don't run out of it, so it's renewable. But it is an alternative source of power generation as long as, because you cannot depend on this source of power generation, the renewable energy sources, because you can rely maximum on it for the production or the consumption required by 25% or so. But the normal 5 other sources of energy or power generation, which are the natural gas, the petroleum, the coal, the waterfalls, the nuclear energy, those are the main channels for generating the power energy or the generating electricity. Renewable energy has its own applications. For instance, pumping water. In remote areas, in desert areas, the infrastructure is too expensive and too far away, but still you need to pump water from wells. So rather than depending on diesel, for instance, which is imported, expensive, costs you a lot to transport to such remote areas, and costs you money, the dollar is too expensive again. So you can use the sun, the solar power, to pump the water from wells. And there are already existing pumping stations in the oases of Bahariya. They have their own pumping stations and still under construction to go. They have, I guess, 8 stations already installed and 26 under construction. This is a very useful way of applying the solar energy for. The other thing that can be very useful is the water heaters. Rather than depending on electricity, which is too expensive, we'd rather, it's always consumption versus production.
Yes.
So, I mean, the best way is to maximize your production and lower your consumption. Again, water heaters consume a lot of electricity. The normal 50-liter water heater consumes around 2,000 watts, which is too expensive. It costs around 200 pounds a month for one water heater. That's a normal thing, depending on the 50 PT for the kilowatt that we pay. This means that the normal house having 2 to 3 water heaters, each of 50 liter, which is not a big one, a normal size. This is going to cost a normal resident or a normal house, Egyptian house, an average one, anywhere between 400 and 600 pounds a month with a total consumption that is relevant high, because you usually use 400 kilowatts a month. So this is like too much to consume. Why not install solar water heaters? It saves money, it saves space, so you lower your bills and you lower your consumption. So another useful thing, and I think most of our hotels, 70% of the Egyptian hotels are installing the water heaters, and they usually install a 300 liter solar heater capacity, serving each 6 rooms. And usually you can install the same one at home, and this serves a family of 6 for an entire day. And this costs around 12,000 pounds. So this means that you get back the money of installing your thermal or solar water heater in a year or so, depending on the consumption, of course. So I mean, this is another way of applying the solar energy, which makes it very feasible for us at home, for every house, and reducing our consumption. We also can use the solar energy to light the streets. And another useful way of producing solar energy is the shades of the parking lots. This generates energy. We need shades. Why not install the solar panels there, so we produce electricity and get the shade at the same time. The only problem with the solar production is the dust and the heat. And accordingly, the dust, it prevents the production from the panels, so accordingly you need to wash your PV panels regularly every week or so to make sure that it is working all the time.
Is it a difficult process, is it?
No, it's only water. Only you just wipe it or wash it or whatever. It's a very simple thing. The other thing is the heat, because when it is too hot, the panel stops production. And if a point in the panel stops production, the entire panel is out of production. So this is only
Totally, or just in like for the
this panel, because yeah, I mean the solar production cell consists of several panels. So the heat creates problems, but we do not have this high heat normally in our country. Another good way of using the solar energy will be the water desalination. I mean, if we pump water from wells in order to use it for agriculture without depending on the infrastructure or taking the diesel, that's one thing. We use at home, so we save what we produce. We use it for water desalination, so we produce water, the major problem in any country, and again without using what we generate from electricity. And this makes the water desalination unit self-sustainable. It produces its energy that's required for the water desalination, produces the water, and we have huge coastal cities. I mean, the coasts of Egypt are very big and very widely spread, so they can be very, very useful to pump water, generate water for whatever tourism, agriculture, even drinking water, you can have it. So, I mean, the solar energy have vast applications that we can benefit from.
Any comments on that, or should we start, like on problems?
We can start with just thanking you about all this knowledge, but I have to disagree with you in some points. First, the heat. The panels, the PV modules, they like the heat. They like the heat to a certain extent. That's what I meant. That brings us to our brief discussion just before we start, which is basically what kind of modules, what kind of manufacturers we're using, what kind of products we're using.
Of course.
So the heat is not an issue at all, as long as we have
to a certain extent.
Yes,
to a certain extent. That's exactly what I said.
I will explain what a certain extent means. Basically, the module manufacturer normally have two things to rate. The main important two things that differentiate panels and manufacturers, whatever, China, they have top quality, European, or the US and Canada. That's the main four areas where they produce the biggest amount and biggest production of PV modules. The first thing is the efficiency of the module. The second thing is basically the temperature coefficient.
Yeah.
Now, all the biggest module manufacturers, they know that the renewable energy, specifically solar energy, is focused in very high temperature areas, like the Gulf, Sahara, Central Africa, Egypt for sure, North Africa.
Yeah.
So they have changed their technology, not changed, they have improved their technologies. The module that used to go to Europe
is different than what comes to us, for
so
sure.
So the heat is not an issue at all. That's number one that I had to...
Not at all.
No, to a certain extent. What I'm saying is if we go up to 55 degrees, okay, then the temperature coefficient, I don't want to go into very technical...
Would we ever reach that here in Egypt?
No, never.
No, we don't.
Never. Okay. Actually, the heat, and that's one of the things that people don't understand, is it's not about the temperature, is it 48 or 42?
No, it's
about the solar irradiation. Excuse me.
Exactly.
The solar irradiation per square meter. So I can have, for example, in some areas in the Gulf, we can have 48 degrees Celsius. In Egypt, it's 42. But in certain areas in Egypt, we have a higher solar irradiation than the Gulf.
Exactly.
Than North Africa. That's why the heat is not an issue. At a certain extent is above 55 degrees. Not only for the modules, but even for the inverters,
that's for specific modules that they are producing now. Yes, exactly.
That's why I told you before we start is, depending on the manufacturer, depending on the components and the material we use, that's how we're going to sustain, brings us to your terminology of sustainable energy. Sustainable energy is not just renewable energy. It's energy which is different source of the main energy is liquid petroleum or gas or whatever, any components of oil and gas. Is basically how we're going to produce it and to sustain it. Sustaining it is to have a proper first design, how I'm going to design
for sure
this solar park or the solar farm or the wind farm, where I'm going to locate it, which area, geological studies has to be done. After that, you start choosing the components specifically for the areas. If I'm choosing a component for Egypt, it's going to be totally different than South Africa. It's going to be totally different than Germany, for example. So that's the first thing about the heat. The second thing is about the dust. Some modules, which is a technology called thin film, it's a very good efficiency, high efficiency. They don't have any frameless. It's like this table.
Yeah.
They don't have any frames.
Yeah.
So the dust, when it comes on it, if it's warm dust, it's like it. The panel likes the warm dust. Okay. But if it starts raining, then it becomes mud, then we have an issue. Okay? The cells inside the module, we have like either 60 cells or 72 cells, the small cells.
Yeah.
If one cell stops, that doesn't mean that the whole module will stop. What will happen is the efficiency of the energy production coming out of the module will decrease, again to a certain extent, which is depending on if we are 60 cells, for example, or 72, these cells, we go one cell is down, it's fine. The efficiency of the whole module will go down. And that's one of the reasons that the polycrystalline or multicrystalline or monocrystalline modules are different than thin film. Thin film is just one piece of glass, and you put a thin film sheet on top of it. So if that goes wrong, then the whole panel will go wrong. But the crystalline technology is different. There is small 60 cells or 72 cells in the whole module. So that was the two things I just wanted to comment. We go, if you want to, back to your question about, I think you wanted to see what's the development of solar energy.
Now we know how the situation is right now.
Dr. Hanan said a lot of applications, very applicable, and very good initiatives if we start as a
If we start, they haven't started?
No, we have started.
No,
there has been an Emirates fund, which was the first solar park that was constructed in Egypt. It's a 10 megawatt in Siwa, Oasis. And then after that, there was in Farafra. Before that recent one that was just opened 2 days ago, it was a 6 megawatt. And then the largest solar parks in Egypt, 14 megawatt, that's completed. 7,000 solar home systems in Sohag in very, very poor areas. I doubt, honestly, in some areas we did visit, that not even the governor of the area, the local
inhabitants.
No, the local, what do you call it? Not the mayor, no, the ones that below the governors and the mayors, I don't know what they call them. I doubted that they even I doubted that they even visited these villages.
Okay. Oh yeah.
The people that we saw, and we have videos of that.
Destitute.
No, they only know Sheikh Zayed.
Okay.
They don't know who's the governor of this area without mentioning which governor. But we worked in 7 governors, and they all know Sheikh Zayed. And they thank Sheikh Zayed because it's the first time to see a bulb. They're still, in 2015 and 2016, they're still living on candles and the old gas lamp. Can you imagine? And that was 7,000 houses.
I saw those videos.
And that was an Emirati development project, totally funded by the Emirates to Egypt, and we really do thank them for that, because they opened, as the headline of your program is say, Egypt open for business.
Yes.
The Emirates, they've been through this, and they have opened a lot of business in the renewable energy sector for Egypt to start following that. The main issue, why are we not, is mainly because of bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy is everywhere, in every aspect.
No, but, if you have a presidential decree saying that renewable energy products are exempted, and then you bring your products to customs, and you have to pay taxes, and you have to pay customs.
Yes, you will.
How come? And you have a presidential decree. Is that normal? Is that normal in any country? That's the first thing.
It's like, it's contradicting everything.
Exactly. So, all right, sales tax 10%, we have to pay it on everything, but this is a new sector. We are dying for energy. We keep on saying that we need renewable energy. We cannot afford the US dollar currency at the moment to import petrochemicals. So we have to go to another source of energy. We have the sun, we have the radiation, we have the wind in some areas, in 3 areas only in Egypt that we have the wind. Unfortunately, 2 of them are very touristic areas. So it's going to be very difficult to do wind farms. We have the new Renewable Energy Authority. They're doing their best, but they don't have authority. They are called the new Renewable Energy Authority, but again, they don't have authority over customs or the Ministry of Finance or even the Ministry of Electricity.
Again, there is no
It's the coordination.
Yeah.
It's the coordination among the ministries for such a vital sector.
The teamwork that is non-existent in Egypt.
Yeah, it's like the Ministry of Finance wants the funds, so they apply the customs. The presidential decree, because the president has the vision of this problem, he wants to promote this, but again, the ministries do not coordinate together. This is, well...
I think the vision has to be first convinced, or we have to convince that vision to the team that is taking the decisions. It's not the president is not taking the decisions in all matters. I mean,
of course,
without a team around him that understands what is the importance of renewable energy, what's the importance of agriculture.
Because they do get you like energy, they don't really know the
vision, the strategic vision of the entire thing, what to promote and what to help promoting, because when you put customs, you cannot promote this sector.
Exactly.
And the green sources of energy are worldwide promoted and applied. I mean, we need it.
It's like they're putting you hindrances, you know, you're trying to go ahead.
I'll give you an example on that.
As usual.
I'll give you a real example on that. Germany was the first country started renewable energy.
Yep.
By the way, you know who's the first scientist that got or received the Nobel Prize for solar irradiation? It was Einstein. See how many years ago, okay? So Germany, they have 900 sun hours per year. They have installed, as of December 2015, 45 gigawatt of solar energy. Egypt, 2,250 sun hours per year, nearly 3 times. How many? I'm not going to say gigawatt. I will say megawatt. Is only the ones, the listed projects that I have said earlier, which is total of 40 megawatt. Excuse me. So can you see the difference?
Well, again, you're not comparing apples to apples, because Germany started long time ago.
But
it's a very new sector for us here.
What did they do? We need to apply this term steal shamelessly. That's an English saying, and it's a very nice saying. I like it. It's just steal shamelessly. We can steal their ideas. We steal from Germany. We steal from Emirates. Emirates now and Saudi Arabia. I mean, these countries, they have oil. Population is very low compared to Egypt. Why are they going to renewable energy? Because they have zero taxes on that sector. They have zero customs. They are encouraging investors and small, because you will not improve or develop this sector of business unless you encourage the small and medium enterprises. The large corporations, they cannot come here. And that's what happened during the feed-in tariff program over the last 2.5 years. We've been hearing about it. There is 40 developers. They're going to be paid in Egyptian pounds. Some of them are not happy with that. Although the rate that the Ministry of Electricity did apply is very high rate.
Yep.
It's 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Last week, Dubai completed the tender for 800 megawatt on how much? 2.99 dollar cents per kilowatt hour. So I'm sure we're not richer than Dubai. Why are we paying 14?
Exactly.
And they are paying 2.99.
Big question, why?
Because of who is responsible for that whole process. Are the people? They know what's the solar energy?
The other issue is still that this price is going to be stable for 25 years. It's going to be good for 3-4 years, but again, it will be pennies down the road. The other issue is we are attracting investors from all over the world to have industrial projects and develop our countries in various areas. How is this going to be possible when we do not have enough power generation? We need to generate from renewable energy is one sector, the rest is working, but the renewable energy is the quickest, the cheapest, and we can apply it at home, not only industrial areas. It's available for everybody. And again, let's reduce our consumption and leave what we produce from nuclear plants and the other sustainable energy sources for the development of the country and the industrial purposes, which is much more required. How is this going to be done again, it's the coordination among the ministries,
Yes.
because we have to have a strategic vision among all areas, and then we need to promote the products of the sectors that we need the most for them to work. Again, bureaucracy is sending investors away. Bureaucracy is again hindering the efforts of the renewable energy because we lack the vision.
I'll give you a fact. For example, we operate in very remote areas.
Of course.
Okay, all diesel generator supply of energy in these areas, and it's all very sandy areas. So we need 4x4s.
Yeah.
Okay, we cannot license 4x4s in Egypt. Okay, the double cabin we cannot license. If we want to license it, we pay 3 times the price of the car.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the same time, Bedouins, they smuggled all these cars from Sudan, from Libya, from everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's in front of all the authorities, the police and the military. Everyone knows about it, and they see them driving them, and they don't stop them. They don't have even plates. So we have to go and rent these cars from these guys to work. And if we want to go through the legal channels, we cannot. We're not allowed to. What's that? I've been
very, very strict, the vision.
and that's why I say the Renewable Energy Authority, they try to help. They have sent letters to the Ministry of Finance. They have sent letters to the Ministry of Electricity, and no replies. That's for over 2 years. Nothing. Nothing comes back. It's like a dead end.
Yeah.
Regarding customs, taxes,
It's like they look at the letter and say, that's not important?
No, it's
How do
not.
they tackle
We
that?
cannot change it. It hasn't been brought
They
up
have no
before.
answer.
That's the normal tradition. Exactly. It hasn't been brought up before, so why should we start digging in it?
Yeah.
And that's why one of the main issues is that new Renewable Energy Authority has to come out as not a ministry, but an entity linked directly to the presidential office or to the prime minister. But as long as it's below the Ministry of Electricity, the Ministry of Electricity, their focus is conventional energy.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's it. They don't go.
That's their focus.
Yeah.
That's conventional.
Well,
I mean,
anything new in our country faces
Is not
a lot
understood.
of trouble
Yeah.
until it gets established. But this matter is very important for us, for the country, for the development, for the projects, for the houses, for lowering the consumption, for giving the grid a chance to be repaired, at least. And the remote areas, if you want to develop remote areas, how will you supply infrastructure? It's easier, much cheaper, quicker to install renewable energy because they are self-sustainable. No transfer lines, no nothing. So it's very easy, very quick. That's why this section needs a vision to be promoted. And I mean to get a kick-off start, because it's a lot of benefit for the country. It's not for the private sector, because usually the ministries or the Renewable Energy Authority feel that the private sector is going to privilege. What's wrong about privileging? What's wrong about making money in the private sector? It is a major part of the country. And again, they have money and we lack finances, so why don't use their funds?
Sure.
But give them incentives for them to work.
We don't have any incentives.
No.
It's zero.
We
It's
have
actually
blockers.
hindering,
obstacles.
Yes.
Obstacles
like
all
one
the
of the
time.
biggest developers that have been waiting for 2.5 years. It's a Saudi developer, and one of the really biggest developers. He pulled out 2 weeks ago and paid the penalty. He said, "No, you're not serious, guys."
Well, we'll come back to this because this is very important. After the short break, we'll come back to this,
Sure.
with the developers and the problems, the huge, humongous problems that developers and the country is facing, from, blockers.
Blockers.
Yes. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment. again, we're back and we're with our guest engineer Yasser Shazli and Ms. Hanan Sabri. Welcome again. And we were talking about investment and investors coming here and just meeting those stumbling blocks, and exactly, and they cannot really traverse them or do anything, and they're just like, they just quit. Then, as you said, like a Saudi investor paid the penalty. For what? The penalty, he was charged.
He was charged the penalty, I think, I can't remember the number, but he paid quite
a huge sum, but then instead of losing everything, he just...
The thing is that he preferred to pay the penalty rather than invest.
Losing everything, yes.
Which is
there was, during the summit,
during
the summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, Mr. Mohammed Labbar, the AMR chairman, he stood up and he said that Egypt is the second highest ROI in the world. And that's why investors, they like to come to Egypt, because first thing is what? Energy is for free. That's why we have Lafarge, we have all these cement companies here, we have a lot of investors coming in here. Why? For the fertilizers,
and
for the gas, steel. Why? Because energy is for free.
And these are two high consumption industries.
Absolutely. Now the steel is, last week, I think the ton has been increased for 1,000 Egyptian pounds. I just heard that today. Why? They said, well, because of the dollar rate. What about their energy consumption? It's still the same, and they're still paying the same low kilowatt hour cost. Why? Their profits are increasing, and the government is losing. The same thing for diplomats. Some of my expats friends, they say, you are the only country subsidizing petrochemicals to diplomats.
Yes.
All their cars, all their houses, they're paying the normal subsidy, exactly, the subsidized rate. The same thing for 5-star hotels. If you go to any of the hotels, 5 stars here around the Corniche, go and buy a bottle of water. How much are you going to pay in Egyptian pound? 15 Egyptian pounds, right? A small bottle. The hotel has purchased it with 1.25 Egyptian pound, and he's paying it 10 times. Oh, sorry, he's selling it for 10 times, and he's still paying the same low energy rate.
Yes.
Why? All these questions. The government is not doing anything. They're saying, we're trying to encourage tourism. I mean, the hotel is still making 300% net profit on the room rate. That's not the issue. The bottle of water is an extra hidden profit for him.
I mean, if the tourism, the hotels, if you can exclude them, but why the embassies, for instance?
Everyone, embassies or large-scale industries.
Why such industries that consume very high power consumption? They are well known. Cement and iron and steel, fertilizers, all the petrochemicals. I mean, they consume a lot of energy. Why give them the normal rate? Again, they exist. We want investors. We want development. We want. Okay, but we have to take our rights. And rather than subsidizing such entities, why don't we take our money from them, save our dollars, and turn the subsidizing to the benefiting sectors, or the supposedly benefiting sectors, or the down there who are living in chaos, or even don't have any power sources. Renewable energy will solve the problems. So I mean, direct the subsidizing, or at least cancel the taxes and the customs tariff for the products required for the renewable energy, especially that those projects are benefiting remote areas, and not putting any further demand or requirements on the infrastructure, existing infrastructure, which is not enough.
Yes.
So, I mean, this sector needs the promotion, needs the full attention from all coordinating ministries and concerned parties.
That's the problem.
No,
well, we do not have any coordination.
They're totally living on a different planet. I mean, I feel sorry for the new Renewable Energy Authority, because they have rules, they have processes, they have procedures, they're trying to help, but they're helpless. They are themselves helpless. They don't have authority over anyone. And that has to change. Someone has to listen in the government to this and has to physically change it. Otherwise, forget about any renewable energy.
Any development, anything. If everything is just going like this is chaotic and it's not.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that Mrs. Hanan said earlier was the solar street lights. Egypt consumption or load is 26 to 26.5 gigawatt, and it's increasing.
Yep.
That's per day. Yeah? That's a big number.
Yeah.
And that's increasing with all new projects. Population is
houses.
increasing. Everything. Our real estate is booming in Egypt. I don't know how, but with all the economic
is
situation, it's booming. So it's
But
good.
the population is growing, so the real estate has to boom.
So one of the things that the Ministry of Housing should state is basically what you said earlier is, okay, all solar street lights will be
All
implemented.
street lights has to be solar.
Implemented
Yeah.
in all new areas.
Yeah.
Solar water heaters has to be not
Installed.
gas, not
Yeah.
electrical,
Yeah.
has to be solar.
Yeah.
And at least they start with 20% of the compounds or these new areas
Villas and
with
houses.
renewable energy.
Exactly.
That has to be a law straight away and to apply it. If we come to the current street lights that we have, all over Egypt, it consumes 1.2 gigawatt. That's a lot. A 500 megawatt hour per day plant that was announced 2 days ago in Beni Suef. They have received 2 turbines.
Yep.
Gas turbines just 2 days ago, a 500 megawatt and a 300 megawatt. To run a 500 megawatt turbine, a combined cycle gas turbine, you need only buying gas or only raw material of gas $200,000 per day. Because the 1 megawatt
that's
hour
exactly what I was
needs
trying to say.
4 million BTU straight away. So you multiply it by the hours, multiply it by the price of gas, you will get $200,000 per day just for the raw material, not mentioning running it, salaries, maintenance, all that stuff. Just for 1 day. So there is a lot of quick fixes,
Yes.
but we need someone to listen. And whoever is going to listen needs to be knowledgeable. And there is no problem and there is no shame to learn.
And again, the household,
Yeah.
I mean, let alone all these big figures that we will save for power consumption. I mean, the household owner will benefit. He will lower his bills. If we really apply the feed-in tariff for the houses, we need to install the intelligent meters, and people will start generating electricity. Generating the solar energy happens during the day, while the peak consumption in Egypt is not during the day, it's during the evening.
Yes.
So every household owner thinks that I will produce something that I do not need. But if we produce, Saudi Arabia, for instance, their peak consumption of electricity is during the day, not during the evening. So we can produce solar energy at home, sell it to the ministry, and then the ministry will export this energy to the surrounding countries.
I have a lot of concerns about that, about exporting.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you can benefit lowering your bill by a 5 kilowatt plant on your roof.
Yes.
For a villa, for an apartment, for whatever, and you generate 930 pounds per household per month. So you lower your bills and you lower your consumption, and you install the solar water heater. So accordingly, and you install the LED lamps. So I mean, you lower your consumption and lower your bills. So as a household owner, it's best for your interest to install it. But again, because of the customs and the sales tax and the labor, they are too expensive. So again, the 5 kilowatt plant will cost minimum 60,000 pounds if we use the Chinese products, not the multicrystalline and everything. The figure is going to be much, much higher. Again, because of the taxes and the customs. If you cut this, the price will go down minimum by 25%. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that's correct. Well, it's sales tax is 10%, and then we have 2% to up to 5%, up to the customs evaluation. We have a major issue for the last 4 months, which is batteries. Solar batteries are not allowed into Egypt.
Yes.
So are not allowed. All shipments have been either blocked at customs or destroyed or re-exported. Why? We don't know. What's the reason? So how come I'm going to start doing these kind of applications if I don't have a solar battery?
Exactly.
These kind of blockers, we need someone to learn first. There's no shame to learn.
Everywhere. This is really blockers.
There's no shame to learn.
And no age for learning.
Exactly.
No age.
When I started in renewable energy. In 2008, I've had a very good opportunity to learn from a lot of people, and very knowledgeable people, but how they encouraged the households, how they encouraged small industries and the big industries in Europe, specifically in Germany and Austria. The feed-in tariff was 27 euro cent per kilowatt hour. If you on your house you put 5 kilowatt peak installation, you get for each kilowatt hour you produce through the grid 27 euro cent. When they started having a sustainable energy, they started lowering it. Until now, it is, I think, 6.5 euro cent, and now it's going to go down again after what happened in Dubai. They're very smart. They managed to get it to the lowest rate in the world, which is 2.99 dollar cent, not euro cent, per kilowatt hour. So let's learn from these people. Let's learn how they implemented, how they developed, what processes they put to encourage developers, contractors, to encourage the residential sector, which it plays a very big role. It's not, I mean, it's not a small percentage.
It's not trivial. Yes. By all means, it's very important to lower their consumption, to lower their bills, and increase our production, which is at the end of the day reflected on the entire country.
And what they're doing now in the Gulf, I mean, all the Gulf, they have plenty of oil and gas and very little population compared to us.
Nevertheless,
what they're doing, they are lifting up the subsidies now. Why? Because they're reaching a stage where they're going to kick off very quick in the renewable energy. So they start lifting the subsidies. And they don't need it. And we are the people that we need it, and we're not doing it. Everyone comes out, oh, but what about the poor people? We're not saying lift it up from the poor. We're saying decide industry-specific industries. Okay, whoever is paying 6 million Egyptian pounds for a villa in a compound, I'm sure he can afford 20% of that renewable energy. Simple. And it has to go by law. Exactly.
It has to be forced.
It has to be forced.
Otherwise, you know, it's not going to be
Such areas should not consume the power consumption, and their consumption is too high. 5, 6 thermal water heaters. There will be air conditioning. There will be the lights. There will be television sets, etc., 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 etc. The consumption of one villa is too high. Let alone the water consumption.
That's right.
It's too expensive. Why use electricity to heat water? It's very simple, and it is locally produced as well. I mean, this is like you will buy the made in Egypt product, install it. Yes, very, very good quality.
Yes.
And it's installable, it's easy, it doesn't take time, and save us the electricity and save your money.
Exactly. And save the country importing all this petrochemical.
Exactly, that's save our money, save our power generation, because it's too expensive and too precious, and we need it in other sectors rather than the residential villas.
Exactly. You remind me, you said you're exporting in the energy, you know, there was that project. You know,
I'm very concerned about exporting, because exporting electricity is much higher than generating electricity as a cost. And that's why, if you remember the gas export to Israel and to Spain, exporting it is very expensive, and it's much higher than generating. We have not reached that stage yet. We need to sustain the energy.
We have lack energy. But what I mean is
possible after 20, 30 years. Not less, because from what I see, what's happening, I don't see any real actions from the government or from the ministries and the people responsible for such sector.
The blockers.
There is no the blockers. There is no real serious actions being taken.
That's exactly what I'm saying. If we have the vision of doing this, we need to produce or generate electricity more than what we need.
Exactly,
this is not going to happen the way we're doing it now. We have to work on lowering our consumption and maximizing our production. Even if I do not want to use it, if I'm not going to be at home, I still will produce solar energy and put it over the net. But the thing is, it needs a lot of laws, tariffs, installations,
and encouragement,
and a lot of incentives, and helping promoting that section.
One feels you
need to promote the renewable energy section by giving the companies, the private sector companies, the investors, the installers, such incentives. At least don't give them money, but cancel the taxes and the customs.
For a certain period of time.
Exactly,
not
for
just-
5 years, for 10 years,
And that's what
for
all
this
other
section to
countries did.
boom.
Yeah.
And then people will start benefiting, and the country will see the benefits, and then back to normal. No, nobody said take it for granted and for good, but you need this section to help you develop the remote areas, because it's very easy to develop such areas with renewable energy.
Well, in the 1990s, they started this project of bartering electricity. Well, they were just cutting the mountains and building the post there, in order to just, like in Sinai, just, to have to like a grid to generate electricity. But then, I don't know what happened, that, in that, because, we don't hear anything about this, from Egypt, like Sinai to Jordan to Morocco and Spain and all that, but there's nothing said about it. There was like always with
It's expensive, as
but now
Engineer Shazli said.
It is
But again, it's a vision. It's a vision
so,
that
it's
you
like
need to
it was a
reach.
failed thing,
It's not failed, it's still on the table, but we need to sustain our
and all the money
Our
that was
needs.
paid and all that.
Our
Yeah.
needs. We need to sustain our needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are
And then after
lacking,
that,
lacking consumption.
I mean, we need to learn, steal shamelessly, that's what I said earlier. There's a lot of examples in different countries. Brazil, Mexico, for example, I've seen the president of Mexico in January. He was giving an opening speech in the Sustainability Energy Week in Abu Dhabi. And he said, from myself, as the president, I'm telling all developers, all investors, if you want to come and do renewable energy or a solar energy farm or a wind farm to Mexico, please come to my office, I'll sign everything for you. That's the president, that's what he said.
Yeah.
4 developers already started 800 megawatt in less than 3 months. Started the development phase, they haven't
This
started
is the
construction.
promotion, this is the
Yes.
incentives,
They haven't
this is
started
the vision,
construction,
this
that's
is
it.
the needs
Yes.
that we need to have
And the
here
action,
in our
like
country.
an opening the way, not
Exactly.
blocking the way.
Okay,
He
exactly.
said it clearly, no taxes, no customs, bring your equipment,
Yeah.
the land, we will give you the land, we will connect you to the grid, produce, and we will pay you money.
That's the thing.
So these are the things we need to, again I'm saying it because I know some of the people that are responsible for this, they need to learn, so we need to teach them. Not me personally, but they need to learn.
They would refuse, like we know.
No,
it's like,
but they
you're
have.
not going to teach me, I know.
Well, they have.
This is the
Well, if
attitude.
they listen to the president's speeches, he keeps on saying we need to learn.
Yes.
There's no shame
But they
of
don't
learning.
think, like the others don't think they just need to learn.
So they have
think,
to
they
follow
know
the
everything.
president, and he's saying we need to learn, so let's teach them.
Yes.
And then they will be able to implement, but without the knowledge, they cannot implement any actions. And we will be talking after 10 years,
The same.
But they
story.
like to talk about training the private sector employees and show me the credentials of your people, show me the credentials of the company from which you are importing. He is not capable. I'm not talking about everybody, but we as a sector are incapable of evaluating others because we are not trained and we are not experienced enough in that respect.
Yes.
So why don't we just let the people get busy working? And why don't we coordinate and have a vision to such a sector that we need, push this section to succeed, because their success is the entire country's benefit.
I'll give you a fact on that. The 40 developers that have been qualified to that feed-in tariff, some of them Egyptian companies, government companies,
bodies,
public from the public sector.
Yes.
And their net income statement for the last 3 years is a loss. And they were qualified to sell electricity.
But not private sector.
No, private sector.
Public sector, it's okay, but private sector,
And
you
it's
have
a
to
loss
be...
for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
And one of
because
the
if a
conditions
private
you have-
sector, it's not going to be a licensed. A company that loses will never be licensed.
Exactly. Will never get qualified.
Yeah, you will never be qualified.
And some
You
of
have
them
to be-
are companies, plastic companies, public companies, some of them fertilizers. I don't know why, but they're going to sell energy.
Unfortunately, well, you pinpointed all the problems, the blockers, that are just there everywhere in every field, and then in this one, we just, call investors, but then they just kicking out investors, and
They're demotivated, so they leave. They get demotivated.
rather than
course.
incentives.
Yeah, so if we go, that way, if we continue that way, there is nothing we're going to be retreating back, nothing is happening. Well, I hope next time when we talk, then that's something, like we just kind of, something like progressive happens, and getting rid of the mentalities, or just like solving, I don't know, what one should say, like and all that. But I think we know now, what's going on, but then action should be taken, I think, in order to solve that. Ms. Hanan Sabri, thank you very much
Thanks
for
to
being
you.
with us.
Thank you.
Engineer Yasser Shazi, thank you very much
Thank you,
for
it's
being with us.
pleasure.
You honored us with your presence. As for our viewers, thank you for being there. We'll see you again next week. God bless our Egypt. God bless our Egyptian people. God bless our Egyptian army. And we see you next week. I'm Nermin Nazim signing off. Goodbye for now.